Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I am your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Craig Clarke from Total Garden Management. Craig runs a garden maintenance company based in Melbourne and started in the industry when he was 8 years old, mowing lawns, and hasn't left in more than 30 years. And in that time, he started working out with Semken Landscaping and also Robert Boyle, who worked for those two in the first 10 years or so in the industry, and then went out on his own after that. So had some good companies to learn from. And since going out on his own, he's built good relationships with a couple of designers like Gareth and Jaye Metcalf. So he maintains some of their gardens that they design. And it's a good example of how beneficial it can be for both parties to have those relationships between designer and maintenance person. So you can get an understanding of the vision that the designer wants to create and how they like their gardens to be realised. So it was pretty cool talking about that. And there's a nice clip in here where he talks about how everyone makes mistakes, so there's no point getting too upset or caught up over it. That was an enjoyable chat for me, so hopefully you enjoy this chat with Craig Clarke. Craig, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
Well, I knew this was coming up, Joel, and I started off when I was about 8 or 10 mowing lawns for neighbours. And Mum and Dad had a house in Kew, and we lived in Kew, and they'd always say, had a house in Kew on a Werribee budget. And I'd always help Dad, this little Edwardian house built in 1915. I'd help him renovate and stuff, and then mow lawns for just family, friends, and people in the street. And I probably had about 6 or 7 lawns in the area that I did. And then sort of grew from that, and we landscaped the backyard and had a friend who was a designer, and I helped her out, Holly, and she gave me a bit of a chip out telling me what to do and stuff. And then year 10 work experience come along, and I know you've had a few Semken landscaping people on here. So my parents' accountant, they knew Marty's good mate, and he said to me, I can get you work experience for Semken. Great. Walked in there. Marty said, "You're with Anna." And Anna took me out for a week, and I, nervous 16-year-old, had no idea. Thought I knew something. Clearly had no idea. And Marty then said to me, "Well, do you like it?" I said, "Yeah, I love it." And he gave me a check, $100 back in the day. I was wrapped. That was big money for me back then. And then he said, "Come back on the school holidays." So during year 11 and 12, I worked during the school holidays for him. And he pushed me to go do Bachelor of Hort at Burnley. Burnley was taken over by Melbourne Uni right when I started. And it was a little bit up in the air, and it just wasn't like, I did a year of it. I didn't like it. I thought, do I really want to do this? So I went to Marty, and he said, "Well, come and work for me full time." And he gave me a team leader position. I was like 19. And the youngest team leader, I think, at the time that they had, threw me in the deep end. I'm got some idea of what I'm doing. Clients are ringing Marty up, going, "This is a young 19-year-old. Does he really know what he's doing?" And went and did my schooling at night part-time for a couple of years. And I went to NMIT in Fairfield and did parks and gardens there while I worked at Semken full-time. And I had a great time there. It was amazing. I got to look after some pretty awesome gardens throughout Melbourne, a couple of well-known people out in the industry, a couple of AFL football coaches, that sort of stuff. It was awesome. And it really showed me what landscape gardening was all about. Then with Marty, I worked at garden shows. What else? Just maintained commercial sites, private gardens. Got to see a lot of horticulture. After that, I went and worked for a small business when I was about 22, 23, lasted 6 months. And I sort of failed, gone to another business. And my old man said, "No, you had to get out of Semken. It was good for you. You've seen, and you have to take that next step, see what else is out there." And started my own business when I was about 23 and had no idea. Thought I knew everything, had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Did that for a couple of years. And during that time, my best mate, Tag, he worked for Rob Boyle. And Robert, to me, like, whoa, he is way up there in landscaping, especially in Victoria. And he said, "Do you want some part-time work working for me while you got your business?" So I subbed to Rob for a couple of years. I'm working with my best mate, so that was good and bad because being with your best mate a couple of days a week. And then I was about 25-ish and thought, business is hard work. Don't know enough of the business side of things, but great with my hands. And Rob said to me then, hey, why don't you come work for me full time? So I did. I just couldn't not take up the opportunity. Learned so much, like some of the jobs we were doing, and I was on the maintenance side of stuff, but I also got to do the construction as well and see designs being done, maintaining these amazing gardens and helping out building them and all that sort of stuff. My mate Tag then left Rob's and he hurt his back, so he had to get out of the industry, and now he's a surveyor. And Rob came to me, do you want to take on maintenance manager? And I just took it straight away. So it grew from the two of us, Tag and I, put on a full-time apprentice. And by the time I left, I was at Rob's for about 5 years. Full-time, we had about 4 staff full-time on the maintenance and a casual who worked in the nursery because Rob grew a lot of his stuff. And I just love like it was just a next step up in what I was doing from Semken. I had a client there who was 80 to 100K in private garden maintenance. And I'm like, wow, who's got that kind of money? But his garden was amazing. We actually got a high distinction in 2011, sorry, for Landscaping Victoria Awards in the maintenance side of stuff. And Rob in 2012, he won the Landscaping Victoria Best Garden over 300K, pretty much a clean sweep. But I was maintaining a garden. We got high distinction on the maintenance there, so that was cool. But just some of the work we did was just unreal. I just can't explain how good it was and stuff. I learned a lot of Rob, just garden prep, just maintaining, just everything. And there was not really, like most clients had unlimited budgets, which helped. Most of our clients were spending 20, 30K on garden maintenance then.
Is that per year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Per year. So, yeah, just the money that was being spent up to the client who spent 80 to 100K a year. And anything that had to be done did get done. Then I left Rob's, and just before I turned 30, it was about July. I said to Rob, look, I need to go out on my own again. It's time to take that big step. Thank you for your time. And went out and started the business. And my partner and I at the time, who we're now married, Amy, we were thinking about getting married and buying a house. And the same year I left Rob's and within 4 months had my 30th birthday and proposed to my wife. And I had about 2 jobs. And I'm like, what the how are we going to have a house, and how are we going to save up while I'm and she took the brunt of the income and we're working away and all that sort of stuff. And look, it's been hard work. Small business is, but I love it. We do maintenance and we do soft landscaping. We were in the hard landscaping for a bit, but it's just my body said no. So I've done more of the soft landscaping. Gareth LePage, who worked at Rob's, he went out and he's a designer for Rob at the time, and he went out on his own and he rang me up and said, are you doing your maintenance still? And he's given me a lot of work maintaining gardens. I take on a lot of his stuff, which is great, which is all Bayside, northern suburbs of Melbourne as well. And then, the business has grown from me to a couple of casuals. And throughout the years, I've met another designer, Jaye Metcalf, and I met her at a Forest Hill project. And we built this garden together. She designed it. I built it. I still maintain it 5 years later. And since then, the friendship has blossomed. We are currently doing a garden in Gardenvale. I'm one of her friends, and she gives me a lot of smaller projects, sort of 20 to 50K sort of landscapes. She does all the designs, gets the plants, but we do the irrigation, turf, planting, soil prep, lighting, the whole lot. And then most of the time, generally, we take those clients on at maintenance as well. Relied on casual staff until last year. I was lucky enough to find Matt, who worked for Botanic and came across to me, which was great, had all the right skills. Fortunately, he hurt his shoulder during Christmas holidays. And I'm like, wow, we've got all this work going on, and I'm back on my own again, trying to keep people happy. So fortunately for me, he did it. He did it during Christmas holidays, but he hasn't been able to return to work since.
Yeah, right.
So been a rough ride at the start of the year. Probably harder than COVID for me. COVID was hard, as we all know. Landscaping got shut down during 2020 for a lot of it. And then looking for staff has been next to impossible. Relied on labour hire, which is good. And the guys have been young 20, 25-year-old uni students. They're great and they work hard, but not what I need long term. So I went to Seek, and Seek is hard work. Gave them some money, got 3 responses. No good. And then tried again. Okay, no, back to the casual labour hire. Okay, it's not what I need. I need a full-time worker. Had a guy who was changing industry, so I was happy to take him on. I'm happy to take anyone on, give him a go, but works both ways. I'll teach you anything and all my knowledge from what I've learned for 20, 30 years, starting back mowing those lawns all those years ago. But you've got to put in and work for me as well. And, you know, what goes around comes around. Guy lasted 8 days. This is too hard. Okay. Back to Seek, because there's just no one out there. Where else do you sort of go? You try the taste, you wear them out enough. And then I've had Hayden, who started 3 weeks ago, and 26-year-old, just amazing worker. I'll get him hopefully up in the next sort of 3 to 6 months running jobs by himself. And we had a chat in the car on the way home tonight. And mate, is this what you're willing to want to do? Yeah. So it's really good. That's my journey. It's been a big journey. And when you asked me a couple of months ago, I sort of thought about, well, what do I say to this question? It did start from when I was 8, 10 mowing lawns, and up to now I'm 40 in a couple of months. So yeah, it's been an awesome ride. Love it.
Yeah. So you haven't had any jobs other than in the industry?
No, that's all I know.
Yeah, cool.
Apart from a paper boy delivering junk mail when I was 16, 17, this is all I know. I've thought about, would I go do something else? Well, there will be a time where my body says no, or I hope there's 5, 10 years left. Build the business that I can just manage the business. Don't think I'll ever get to a Marty Semken size. It's not what I want to do, but my goal is to definitely have maybe myself and 2 or 3 other staff. And I'm working towards that now. And I guess I'm starting to realize that I need to expand with, it's great, the designers I get work from, but certainly want to expand and get some more work. And word of mouth is great, but it's limited and slow. And that was great years ago. But if you want to expand quicker, then you need to expand and look at different ways of doing that, obviously.
Yep. Have you got any construction companies who you work with who, like when you're doing work for that designer that you're working with, like you're doing the softscaping, so you get them to do the hardscaping?
I normally just get the clients to engage it and get them to do all that.
Yep.
She, on her larger jobs, she has a different landscaping company that takes that sort of stuff on. So it's been great for her as well that she can give them the bigger jobs, but the smaller sort of projects that we take on, and we take them and clean them out and then take them right up to the end and to hand over. And look, sometimes the clients will go seasonal work, so we just pop in a couple of times a year and maintain them. But there's certainly others that the first project I met Jaye on in Forest Hill is a fortnightly job, and we're there for 3-4 hours a fortnight. We have maintenance all over Melbourne and zone it, but we have a job which is a full day for 2 people every fortnight, up to smaller stuff. But yeah, we do everything. Yep. Which is a good and bad thing, I guess, because I can't do everything myself. I don't have the time to do everything myself. And that's why I need the right staff member, and hopefully Hayden coming through is the right guy that I can train him up and take on either a casual or hopefully another full-timer. But also, my biggest problem is me in the business, that I can be afraid to take that next leap financially. Who knows? We all know how tough it is at the moment. Are people still wanting to spend money in the next 12 months? I'm hoping yes, but I don't know.
I reckon the people who are in the higher in the market, so the ones who are spending 20 or 30 grand a year on maintenance, they're not as affected by interest rate rises and a lot of the things that happen that affect the majority of people. So people who are spending $20,000 to $50,000 on their whole landscaping, they're the ones who are going to not be able to afford it, or they'll focus on other things. But I reckon people who are getting maintenance done, like, you're going to have some who are going to drop off, but I reckon it should be fine, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think so. And look, a lot of our business is based in Bayside. I live out in the Yarra Valley, which is beautiful. My view is of Yarra Glen. It is a hike to Brighton, but it's worth it. It's an hour each way. But those clients, and I see a garden as a big investment to a home. You don't spend 80, 100K up to $1 million. That was one of the projects I did with Rob, was landscaped $1 million. And it was incredible to maintain a garden that they had spent $1 million on a private garden in Idaho. It was just wow factor everywhere. We had open gardens there. It was on Better Homes and Gardens, all that sort of stuff. It was great. So you're not spending that money if you're not maintaining it. So a lot of our clients base, I feel confident that most of them, even I'm raising prices up for the maintenance side of stuff, construction, we're pretty competitive with everyone else. That they're still going to maintain it. They've spent the money on their homes. They want it looking good. So yeah.
And so, how does it work with employees? Like, do you meet in Yarra Glen and then drive in, or do they meet on site?
Yeah, so Hayden's 10 minutes from me. So he's my only full timer at the moment. He meets me at my place and we drive in together and have a bit of a chat on the way, talk about what's happened last night and then what we're doing for the day. I do find at the moment it's a juggling act between construction and the maintenance side of stuff. Fortunately, in winter, I can cram a lot of the maintenance and compact it into a couple of days. But most of our clients are pretty good with the construction. I spoke to our client today. I said, look, we're not back till next week, waiting on Warner's for a plant delivery. Yeah, she was fine and said, we'll be back a couple of days next week and the week after, done. And then on to the next one that Jaye's about to handball me to the quote as well. So, yeah, look, it's a juggling act, and I would like to be able to go to my staff, yep, you guys do the construction for a day and I oversee it, or vice versa, and have a couple of crews running and just making sure I'm overseeing the maintenance or the construction as well. It's hard to let go when you're self-employed. Trusting people going to do the things that you want them, how you want them. The 1%ers are massive to me. We're invited to someone's home, whether it be construction or maintenance, and I just full respect our clients that it's a bit of an honor to go in and maintain the garden or construct the garden. So we try and focus on all those 1%ers that I guess the better companies try and do. So yeah, that's us.
Yeah, I reckon it can be hard to hand over the reins more so in maintenance than it would be in construction. Because if I get a guy to lay some pavers and he stuffs it up, I can just pick the pavers up and relay them in a quarter of the time what they would have done them, and then they're done the way I want them. If they're not done how I want, but if you've got a guy who's trimming a hedge, he takes too much off, can't just put it back on.
Well, no, it's a bit hard to glue it back together. And you know what some plants are like? It's 12 months waiting game, all that grosses stuff.
Yeah.
It's but I think it comes down to the right training. And look, mistakes happen. We're all human. I make mistakes, but it's how we handle it and it's learning from it. I don't believe it's a mistake if you learn from it. If you don't learn from it, yeah, you've made a mistake. But I make mistakes, and it's how I react to the clients as well. Don't hide it. Try and inform the client as quickly as possible. We made a mistake. I made a mistake, and you're only as good as your weakest link. So I've always said to my staff, if one of us makes a mistake, whether it be you or me, I've let the team down, or you've let the team down. So you're only as good as your weakest link at the end of the day, and you just try and eliminate that, train and stuff. And if that comes back to I'm not training, communicating, well, that's on me. And I'm always learning, really trying to learn every day, growing, developing business, do things better. So yeah, you're right. Just try and reduce it as much as possible. I have full confidence with my new guy that, yeah, so far so good. So it's so hard to find good staff. And yeah, I had one. He popped his shoulder. The new one's doing really good. So the fingers crossed. And yeah, it makes work really enjoyable as well. It's the right stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And the right, yeah, I lost a couple of jobs recently in the maintenance, and it didn't bother me. I just didn't want to spend the money, and it's hard to meet expectations if you're not willing to spend it. So yeah.
And have you got your guy? Is he doing an apprenticeship, or do you have guys? Do you put him on as an apprentice or just labour?
Normally, I'd say you've got to go to night school if they want to work full time. Most people can't afford these days to be doing a couple of days of TAFE and a couple of days work. So, but Hayden being new, I've said to him, he's got some good experience in the industry. So, preferably, I'd like him to go do some training. I think it's important. But at the end of the day, you learn, and everyone will say this to you, you learn a lot out in the field, whether it be maintenance, construction. today I taught him a couple of little things, and he's just like, "Wow, I've never seen that." And he was working for a chippy before, and he's a qualified carpenter, but he's come across to me, which is great because yeah, his skill set, and I'm learning off him as well.
Mm.
So, but I know like today he laid some stepping stones, and I just watched him for 5-10 minutes, and he was fine. I went off site and did a couple of things, picked up some materials for this job, came back. It was as good, if not better, for me. How I do it. So it's really handy. But you do have to hold staff hands and watch over them and stuff. So
Yep. So was it a rude shock when you're working for Robert Boyle and you're going out on your own? I imagine the type of jobs are a little bit different when you were getting your own ones.
well, yeah, definitely. Rob taught me a lot of stuff from soil prep right up to maintaining, and just some. I look back at my time, what I did for Rob and what we got to do, like working in some projects and maintaining. We had to put harnesses on just to prune these bucks hedges that Rob had put half hanging over a balcony 2 floors up, and I'm like, how are we going to maintain that? Did some courses and got the harnesses set up, and I'm like, went and started on my own with one job, Richard, maintenance customer in Toorak. And then he handballed me to another job, and he's been great to growing the business at the start. And I took on what I could, which we all do. But yeah, certainly over the years, I've started to push some of the smaller jobs away and taken on back up to the Robert Boyle sort of standard work that where I want to be. That's what I love doing. I don't want to do mow with blows. I don't want to do the construction stuff on a tight budget. It's too hard. Yeah, it's just too hard to be trying to meet expectations of. Yeah, a client comes to you and says, "We'd like this done. What's your budget?" Oh, they and ah about telling you, and they say 10 grand. And you're like, "This is $30,000-$40,000 plus." You can't do it. So, yeah, it was hard at the start, but now I'm starting to get right back up there, and that's what I'm aiming for us to do those kind of jobs, which with Jaye and Gareth has helped the two designers that have awesome work. They've been great at doing that because they are all doing those top-notch sort of Rob jobs. And Gareth sort of worked for Rob for many, many years before he went on his own. So all his jobs are Robert Boyle standards. So yeah, that's been really handy that I get to do that. And also I get to go back to these people and say to, how did you design it? Why did you design it? What should I do? And I ask them for help because when you're on your own working, it's hard. You feel it's a small world by yourself. And it's nice to be able to go, well, I don't know that answer to that question. Can you help me out? And they do. And everyone in this industry gets around each other. It's fantastic. That's what I love. Like I've got now an arborist who does all my arborist work, hedging, just use them. A turf guy who does my turf renos, or I can ring him up and ask turf questions because I don't know everything myself. So I asked them what variety of turf would you guys recommend, or what pest disease, etc. So it's been really handy. You just got to use people around you to help you.
Yep. Yeah. And like you said before, like you prefer doing the maintenance rather than construction. So you're also better off focusing on what you're good at and what you enjoy doing rather than trying to do everything, be everything for everyone. So if you've got a team of other people who you can get to do those other things, that makes you a more complete business for people to recommend as well.
Yeah, I hope so. So look, I did do a little bit of pool maintenance on some of our clients' places, and I thought, no, that doesn't work because I'm no good. So I'm like, no, bugger that. You guys can get your own pool cleaners and stuff. But yeah, you do have to bring some subbies in to get the job done correctly. I actually fell off a ladder a few years ago, and ever since then, no good on height. So me and pruning large hedges, it's gone anyway. So I'm good. So yeah, Justin and his crew come in and they do all that. They've got all the right equipment. He's got 15 staff, so they've got all the right stuff. And then yeah, the guy I have met actually through Instagram with turf stuff. I can go hire all the stuff. It's quicker and easier to get him in and do all the turf renos.
Yeah, we're gonna go. A maintenance guy we're using. He's massively passionate about turf as well. So yeah, I could try and learn stuff about it, but it's better off just handballing it to him. It's his specialty, and it's a better result as well. And I've got enough other stuff to keep me busy. I don't need to add turf maintenance to my repertoire.
I'm the same, mate. Like how much like horticulture, there's so much in it and so much involved. Like where do you start? Where do you stop?
Mm.
I know enough to keep weeds out, fertilizing, and all that sort of stuff. I could learn more about the turf side of stuff. I know varieties and I know which varieties to put down and stuff, but when it gets into the nitty gritty of it, and if you want to have that MCG looking lawn, I'm not the guy to come and do that.
Yeah.
I just outsource it, which is great. And it comes down with everything. Like I did a bit of design when I started the business, and I remember I did a design, and client said, "Yep, we'll take you on board, etc. Do us the design." Didn't charge them. Never heard from them. 6 months later, drove past a job. Funny enough, that design was built exactly how I drew it, and learned from there. Never ever do a design without charging for it. But I learned from it. So yes, it was a mistake at the start, but I learned from that mistake. So I don't get into design much these days because it takes too much time for me personally. I've got enough going on. I've also got a 14-month-old, so she keeps me on my toes.
Absolutely.
Life is busy with keeping up with day-to-day paperwork, emails, invoices, quotes, all that. Time with her, 4 or 5 hours on the golf course every weekend. You've got to have life outside of work as well. So that's my out. So yeah, you just learn that you've got to delegate, and you can't do everything for everyone.
Yeah. So did you learn much about running a business and quoting and that sort of thing from Robert?
At the end, probably a little bit yes, but no. They had their office staff, so I was doing some quoting at the end, but probably not enough. And they had the invoicing lady who did all the invoicing. When I took over the maintenance manager role, Rob got an iPad so I could directly email clients, and that was great because I didn't have that access and was relying on the office to print them out, send them to me, and then I'd call the client. And then we thought, no, this doesn't work. Got an iPad, emailed directly back to the clients on site, emailed clients while we are on the job site so they were aware of what was happening if I had to. But I've also learned as well, like I used to respond to emails early days within 5 to 10 minutes of getting them. I turn my phone off every afternoon at 5. I switch off from 5 o'clock. I do paperwork, but then 7 o'clock my phone's back on. Weekends I don't answer work calls or messages. If someone texts me, Monday morning. I'm not a heart surgeon, a brain surgeon. The garden's going to be okay for a couple of days. Like it's not important. And yes, all our clients are important. But I'm a big believer you got to switch off, and I've learned that over the years. I used to respond so quickly, and the expectations were so high. I ran myself into the ground. So yeah, just learning. But yeah, I guess with Rob, probably not enough of that, but all the other side of things, yeah, certainly learn a lot. I've self-taught, but also used other people in different business and our industry to learn a lot of stuff as well. Having good accountants helped. I just changed accountants recently to someone a bit close to home, so I could go in and have face-to-face chats every now and then. Find that really beneficial.
And do you use any apps to keep track of all the jobs that you got? Like, because you got a few jobs that you go into every fortnight, and some are less frequent. So? How do you keep track of which or when you go and where?
Well, this year I started to look into that, and I'm like, where do I start? Where do I stop? Rang the accountant. It's not really our forte. Googled what works with Xero invoicing software. Looked around and couldn't find anything I really like. So I am still old school. I'm still running 2 diaries. One diary for scheduling work in, and the other diary for I write down everything we've done during the day, and then come home and chuck it back on Xero and send our invoices out. It's a bit slow, but it works for me. So yeah, look, I'd love to use the apps, but I just haven't found anything that works exactly how I want it to. Maybe I'm too fussy. I've tried a couple of things, but also they start costing up. So when there's two of you, it's all right. But I guess if you get 3, 4 people, well, yeah, you definitely have to take that sort of step as well to do.
Have you looked at Zero Projects at all? Like I haven't used it, but I know a lot of people use that, but more construction possibly.
Mate, I've looked at about 3 or 4 different apps I don't even know, and I've had Zoom meetings on how to use what app, and I'm lost now of what I've tried. So there's probably is some Xero stuff there that would work great, but and I'm normally pretty good with irrigation. Irrigation with technology. It's just something with these apps I haven't been able to. Like all our irrigation now is on Hunter Hydro, so I'm adjusting everyone's irrigation from my phone. All my house is set up with Wi-Fi lighting, all that sort of stuff. But the app side of stuff for the business, I'm no good at. I just don't like it. Haven't found or just haven't been able to find something that I like that I'm good at. Maybe it's just me getting showing my age.
What lighting program have you got connected to Wi-Fi?
Just plug and play stuff into sockets. So transformer plugs in. I've tried it in my house. It works great. So
Is it the Holman one?
No, it's just what is it actually? Yeah, I'm gonna have a quick look and I forget because I just use it.
So, yeah, because I reckon I love that idea, but like I know Holman do one, but it's only for 12-volt lights, and we use a lot of 24-volt ones.
It's just Casa plug and play. So it's I plug the transformer into the plug the transformer into just a Wi-Fi outlet adapter, and it's all controlled off that.
All right.
So I find it works for my place. I've got everything front light. I've zoned all my lighting front, sideways, pull, all that sort of stuff. And I've got some that comes on as a timer, and some of it's just manually turn it on. So yeah, nothing fancy, but it works. And a few clients have asked for it, and they're happy with it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
So, but yeah, definitely the Wi-Fi irrigation and stuff. That's really good. Clients love it too. And when you
Yeah.
service them, it makes life a lot easier. And you're on an acre property in Templestowe. Old days were walkie-talkies. Then we moved to mobile phones when maintaining irrigation. And if you're on your own, it's run back and forth from the controller, run out, find the leak, then you fix the leak and it's like back, turn it off, and you find another leak and you're just running back and forth. Now it's just you're at the leak, you've got your phone on off. As long as you got a phone connection, you're fine. So it's great. And even clients that we're not maintaining that, but we've constructed, I still keep them on my phone because they call me up and ask a question. It's fantastic for that sort of stuff. It makes life a lot easier.
So is that like a contractor's account that you've got for HydroWise?
Yeah, I've got about 50 or 60 clients. So I pay $150 a year, I think, for that. And it's just giving me access to everyone.
Yeah,
So
cool.
yeah, it's definitely worth it. I know there's Rainbird out there. Hunter was the first one I used at my place. I know it. It's easy. I can set them up easy now. So I just stick to what I know. A new client recently has a Rainbird. She said, "Oh, can you download this app?" I can. I probably will, but at the moment it's just easier for me to just adjust it off her phone and do it until my preference is to stick with Hunter. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know how long ago it was, but just early days, but we had a HydroWise controller installed, and it was such early days that the guy who invented it came out and helped install it. And like, he was giving me a rundown on it.
Well, it was invented here in Australia, I think, and then
Yeah,
they eventually there. The unit originally was there's a small little thing, and then Hunter bought it, and well, I've got one of the original controllers in my place. Works exactly the same, just looks different. And now Hunter bought it out, and it's fantastic. And one thing I do love about Hunter is their rep is fantastic, so they can tap into the back end. And I remember a couple of years ago, I had a maintenance client, and the landscapers came out and moved the flow sensor that I'd put in, and it was sensing how much water we're using on the job. And they moved it from one spot to the other, and it wasn't working. The client's like, "Why isn't it working?" Getting frustrated, blah 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 blah. Landscaper and plumber had moved it, but we didn't realize that there was an electric fence about a meter away from the control wire. That was enough to throw it all out.
yeah, right.
So the rep from Hunter was fantastic. Somehow we talking on the phone, worked it all out, got it right. So yeah, they've been really handy and stuff. So it's always again having those people you can rely on to help you out if there's an issue and stuff. But I think going forward with more smart homes and stuff, certainly the way that of the future, everyone's starting to do it, and why not? It's simple to do, and it's I won't put anything in now controller wise unless it's a Wi-Fi. It's like $100 difference. It's a no-brainer to me. Just
Mhm.
easy done.
Yeah, and even if it's like the benefits of being able to, if you're on holidays or if you're away, you can, and it's going to be a couple of 40-degree days in a row, and it wasn't going to get water, you can turn it on from wherever you are in the world. But that's one of the features of it. But even just being able to change it without having to go outside and go to the controller to make changes is a nice thing to be able to do.
Well, definitely, and you can also set these things up to talk to weather stations. So I don't know
Mm.
about the other brands, but these things will talk to weather stations, and it's amazing how many private homes have their own weather stations, and Hunter will tap into that as well, and you can pay a little bit more and tap into more. Um, it will adjust your watering to the weather stations and the weather in your area. So more or less, whatever you tick the boxes, it'll do. So it's just peace of mind, really, as well. So it's another thing. I don't know how else technology is sort of helping us out, but I'm sure it is. Like I've moved to a lot of electronic equipment now as well. So easy on the body, quicker to charge, less fuel, all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, that was my very next question. Actually, I was going to ask him what sort of equipment you're using. So, what brand are you using?
just all our drills and all that sort of stuff in Makita, maintenance side of things is all steel. A lot of it was petrol. Still haven't found a battery mower that I'm happy with, but our hedge trimmers are all steel. Blower is still petrol. They suck a lot of juice. Eventually, when the chainsaw dies, I'll go to electric because we don't use it very often. So I don't even think I've used chainsaw this year, to tell the truth. So, but yeah, definitely be looking at more battery stuff. You 20-minute charge, you get 4 hours use on most of the equipment. So it's a big investment, but it's so worth it. And yeah, it's just all everything about it's just easier to use. It's lighter, it's easier on the body. My arborist put me onto it years ago and haven't looked back. So, and just being smart with having the right equipment as well, doing a better job. Yeah, that's where we're at. We've just gone to almost full electric. When I can get a good electric mower, then certainly be going down that track. But I did look at putting an inverter in the car to charge everything. But we charge everything now just while we're at a client's place. 20-minute charge, 3 batteries. That takes care of what we need.
How many volts are they, those batteries?
I think they're 36 or something. Jesus, tough question. I don't look at this stuff. Oh, I just plug it, charge it. I would have known it the day I bought it, but yeah, just plug it in, charge it, make sure it works, spray a bit of lube on the shear blades, and away we go. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 36 volt. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's really quick charging and being able to work that long. So it's quite impressive because I know when we're using drills, they're 18 volt Makita ones that we use, and they feel like they take a long time to charge, especially the 5 amp ones.
Yeah. And especially some of the tools you use, the reciprocal saw is on that today, and it goes flat in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're using, and drills and impact drivers pretty good, but yeah, no, I agree. That's why you're always running a couple of charges, but the electric side of things is really good. But I guess it comes back to what you pay for. Still have a great variety. I went top of the range, quick charge, all that sort of stuff. Batteries, I think I spent like $1,500 a couple of years ago on chargers and batteries, but it was worth it. When you're using it day to day, you just want to get out of the car and use it, make it work. So yeah, and like tomorrow we're at a couple of jobs, and for a few hours, so I'll just chuck everything on charge at the client's house, use it at the job. No one seems to mind. So I know the one day I decided to charge here, I left it here and I was in Chirac and I didn't have a battery. So like, never take it out of the car, always leave it on the car and charge on site, because you don't tend to leave it on site when you're out and about. So,
yeah, because it's not like you can just duck home and grab it.
No, not when you're out in the Yarra Valley and go to Chirac. It's good 45-minute each way. So no, it's certainly just be smart about it. I've learned the hard way once. Don't want to do that again.
So what's your garden at home like?
Well, the panel beater has the rundown car and all that sort of stuff. Not here. I have took over this house 7 years ago, built in 78, and Amy and I are slowly renovating. Yeah, we've done all the landscaping. It's the first thing I did. I said I wouldn't touch the place for years. Within 4 months, I was straight out, ripping stuff out. The neighbours were pulling their hair out. I took every tree out apart from one lemon tree at the time. And they were like, how are you doing that? Blah, 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 blah. Stressing, It was all a heap of crap at the time when we moved in. And little did they know, it's an oasis now. So sort of zoned at the front yard's all nice. Got a few roses there. Very much a Robert Ball style garden, because that's what I know when I was designing. And then the pool area, I've made it that, we've got the outdoor kitchen. It feels like you're going up to Port Douglas, where we got married actually, and you're on holiday. So I've made it that you can go down there and you just relax on the pool lounge, grab a beer out of the pool fridge. There's an outdoor shower. It's got the works. It's got the toilet down there. Like after the garden's amazing. The rest of the house needs a bit of work.
At least there's one thing that's nice. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it. I get in the garden as much as I can. It's a bit hard at the moment because leading up to the shortest day of the year. So unfortunately, Buffalo doesn't need to be mown very often during winter, but during summer, Hayden doesn't know it yet, but that's his weekly job, is to come back and mow my lawn. But look, I enjoy it, but I just don't get enough time. Like I said, I've got Lydia, who's 14 months. I want to be in the garden, but I also got priorities. and I
Yeah.
want to watching her grow up. I want to be on the golf course, all that type of stuff. So generally, it's summertime. I get home from work 5:30. I leave my work boots on. I get straight into the garden for an hour or two a week and just do it during daylight savings. Winter time, it sort of gets away from me, but it's slow here as well. We get hit by a lot of frost out here as well, so a lot of stuff gets burned and damaged. But yeah, you can put frost hardy stuff in, but when you're out in the Yarra Valley area, it's certainly getting smashed a bit. But yeah, look, I love having a nice garden at home. I just love coming home and seeing the change in seasons as well. So yeah, we've got deciduous stuff, got roses, everything. So yeah, just love it. Really tropical around the pool area, like I said. Feels like we're away on holidays. So yeah.
That's perfect. So was the buffalo your choice?
Well, there's as far as I'm aware down here at the time when I put it in, there's Sir Walter and King's Pride. And yeah, it was my choice. It's fade my time again now. Well, mind you, I've got two dogs. One's 25 kilos, the other one's 8 kilos. And the backyard is sort of their domain. They don't have access to the pool area, so that's nice and neat and tidy. But my bigger boy, he digs some stuff in the garden. So look, you've got to cater for all the family. But yeah, Buffalo, I went for the King's Pride. I love it. It's great. Tiff Tuff's come out in the market a few years ago. I'd probably go to that being a golfer because you can almost putt off that if you cut it short enough. But it wouldn't tolerate dogs. I've seen it with at clients' places. It wouldn't
Yeah,
tolerate.
right.
Yeah, self-repairing. I love tall fescue, but tall fescue loves water, and tall fescue is no good at self-repairing with dogs. So
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't work here. But yeah, look, that's it works. It does what I need it to. It's really good. One of my dogs, if I put rosemary in the backyard, he smells like roast lamb, so I can't put rosemary in the backyard. I'm down to what have I got? My Killer Alb is out there, and Jasmine, where he's got access to, and a lemon tree because he eats everything else. Oh, a couple of crepe myrtles as well. So I love my crepe myrtles. Love the color. I love the flowers. He hasn't attacked them yet. So yeah, fingers crossed he doesn't.
Yeah. Have you got a cylinder mower?
I did. I tried it here. It didn't like buffalo. I bought it secondhand off eBay, I think it was, 3 years ago. And then, long story short, the guy who I met off Instagram and has given, who's my turf expert, I sold it to him and he still uses it. So, yeah, it just didn't work for what I want. And they're heavy to travel around with as well. And it's again, where do you start? Where do you stop?
Yeah.
My rotary mower, Masport, does what it needs to do at our clients' places. We've got another self-propelled bush ranger as well for our larger properties that we maintain. You've got to charge next level for that sort of stuff, maintenance of the machine. So yeah, I just limit what we do. And if you want that, I've got people who can, but I've never had a client who asked. It'd be great if I was more interested in the surf side of things, but
Yeah.
just not something I really want to take on at the moment. And it didn't work the cylinder mower because our block's a bit pretty steep as well. So it was never going to work here. It was, yeah, I'd love to have one. Scott Bonner was going to do it up. No.
Do you do any fertilizing as well as part of your regular maintenance packages and weed control?
So, total garden management, when I started it, it was, I didn't want to be Craig's gardening. I wanted to take myself away from the business so that if I was to sell it, Amjad was my father-in-law. What should we call it? Total garden management was to be the complete package, be able to manage everything outside. So, yeah, we do. We fertilize all our lawns and gardens twice a year and top them up. Organic fertilizer through sort of start of autumn and springtime on all our gardens. And then we use, been getting onto lawn addicts and that sort of stuff for the lawn stuff. That was recommended to me. So I've been getting into their products. So we do that twice a year, but top up as required as well. Sea Soil and Power Feed is such a friendly product, and we use that all the time. And that actually helps reduce frost burn and stuff. So I try and spray it out here a fair bit as well. If I know we're going to get a frost, I go out and run around with the hose pump pack. So the pest and disease, always using that sort of stuff. Try, like, we don't use much Roundup and that sort of stuff. We use it when we have to. A lot of hand weeding and that, but most of our gardens, because we're there so regularly, we don't really have many weeds, which is really good. Some clients will get out in the garden, but yeah, we just knock them over while we're walking around pruning. Or at the moment, it just seems forever. Autumn leaves are just one of those things. And at the point where I've been doing it a couple of months, almost sick of it. But I love autumn color. So there's a bit of reward. Probably autumn my favorite time of year as well in the garden. Like we didn't have it last year. Summertime, you get to sort of March and the gardens look tired and you you can't beat natural. You can irrigate all you want, but rain is the best irrigation out there. Melbourne got a lot of rain last year. On those really heavy days, I normally pull the pin, but last year I would have gone broke because I felt like every day between October, November, early December was just wet. And the wettest time in 20, 30 years I've been in this industry that we just had to get wet. So,
Yeah, no wonder you guys hurt his shoulder. You didn't want to have work in that.
well,
Working
it
in the rain
wasn't.
again.
Yeah, we didn't hurt his shoulder through my time, fortunately. So, yeah, it's during Christmas holidays, unfortunately. But
I was saying he might have pulled an injury so he didn't have to keep working in the rain.
yeah, maybe. No, he was too good a kid. He's such a hard worker as well. So I have a lot of time for Matt and wish he could come back. So, but just at the moment, not the time. He's got to go and recover and take care of himself. So, a bit hard for him. But
Have you got any other like maintenance crews who you team up with as well, apart from the turf guy? Like if there's a big job or you can't take them on?
no, I guess that comes from me being a bit controlling of I want to do it our way. So I'm better off to call in the labour hire guys as such. And look, this is probably not the greatest thing because I can't get to all the jobs, and it does. When our regular maintenance clients ask for extra planting or extra bits and pieces, we can't get there when they would like us to. But there's no one in the industry. Well, there's a lot of great people in the industry, just no one I've really connected with. So yeah, look, we do everything in the maintenance side of stuff. So it's pressure cleaning. It's I've taken furniture home and painted. Like we do everything,
Yeah.
and I like whatever a client would like outside done within reason, we do it, or we find someone to do it. So I guess that's where I was at before. But yeah, we try and do everything in the garden. My goal is that every time we go to a job, we leave that property that the client comes home and they don't have to get on the phone and go, you missed this. Now, there's going to be occasions where clients want it done a certain way, or we have missed it because we've been short of time or whatever it may be. And I see that as constructive criticism because they'll come to me and apologize. Oh, don't want to say this to you and I don't want to upset you, but tell me if we've missed something. It's the only way I know. It's the only way we learn. It's the only way we can actually do it. So my aim is to go to every job, get it maintained, get it up to standard, and then they come home and they don't even have to give the garden a second thought. It's just done, enjoyed on the weekend. And that's what their expectations are. And that's what my expectations are. So I guess I'd love to be able to find another company. And there's so many out there that do top end stuff like what we do. But yeah, I guess I'd like to put on more staff and get the right stuff, or easier said than done, that we can do it all in house.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the irrigation side of stuff, I'd probably look at. There's a lot of irrigation experts out there these days as well, just to bring them in to do the maintenance side of stuff of the irrigation or some of the installs on the larger projects. Because I don't know about you, but it's just hard this time on jobs as well. Like, and if someone rings up, oh, there's a leak. I don't know how much work you guys go back if there's a leak and someone calls you up, say, oh, we've got a leak at a construction job you did a year or two ago. But it's finding time to get out there, and it needs to be done straight away in summer. But wintertime, you can push it back a bit. It's just hard at times. So maybe look at starting to do that sort of stuff at outsourcing some of the irrigation maintenance. But yeah, there's so much going on with the business. It's like finding the time to actually find the right people that you trust to do it. Listening to your podcast, it's like you like to have a lot of control in the business, I guess, and run it. Do you guys do much yourself, or
About much what maintenance?
not maintenance, but do they take control of the jobs at all? And can you go off and do bits and pieces, or do you get phone calls with bits and pieces at a job you've been to in the past that you need to go back to? Or
Yeah. There's one at the moment which like there's an irrigation issue and they just want us to do a little bit of construction as well. Like it'll be half a day there. But
yeah,
it's only half a day, but I've got other things I need to be getting done that are, bringing in more income. It's just, we don't do little jobs like that because I haven't got time to do them.
yeah.
So, but because they're past clients, I say yes to everything as well, which I shouldn't. But yeah, it's just, you just got to find time for it. But yeah, my guy's pretty good. I haven't seen him for 2 days.
Yeah.
So, and but it's just paving. So, and then there was an issue with a couple of pavers the client spoke to me about. So I just spoke to him in the morning, said we can do this differently, and then everyone's happy. So yeah, I don't need to hold their hand while they do it. They know, yeah, they're pretty on top of things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you don't really need to get back to your jobs and that, and you've got maintenance crews that you refer and that sort of stuff down in
Yeah,
Geelong.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you liaise with them? Because I know you do a lot of designer stuff. Do they come back to you and go, Joel, how did you want this done, or you just refer them and that's it, and they just do everything from there?
A couple, yeah, but like if it's someone else who's designed it, they might talk to the designer about
Yeah.
it, about how they want. So Cam from Abcam Horticulture was the first one who verbalized that the best way, where I hadn't heard it before. But he talks to designers, asking them how they want things to be grown. Like, do they want a hedge to be 2 meters tall or 3 meters tall, and also about educating designers about planting like alongside pools. If they want a hedge to be 4 meters tall, and
Yeah.
they've only got a 400 mil gap between the hedge and the pool, but there's no way of being able to hedge that properly. So,
Well, yeah, one of our Gareth LePage, who handballs me a lot of maintenance. The first time I ever go and meet a client, he's there if it's his job. He'll give me a copy of the plan, and I write down notes of exactly. And generally these days, I know exactly if he's put in a hedge, I know how tall it is. If he's put in a a crepe myrtle, whatever it might be, I know how he wants it pruned. He'll go to a job every sort of 12 months and have a look back at it, or driving in the area, I'll get a phone call and he'll be, oh, I just got in this client, I haven't been here for a couple of years. Can you do that this way, or can you do that way? And it's great because your vision and their vision can be a little bit different at times. So it's good to have that to go back to designers, and especially with Jaye, our other designer that we build and maintain her gardens. I speak to Jaye probably twice a week, whether or not it be construction work coming up or a question on maintenance stuff as well. And it might not be sometimes on projects that we've worked together for her, but I might have a question on a pest or disease, just need a second opinion. So yeah, it's just going back to designers and looking at the 5 year, 10 year plan of what they're after.
yep. Last question for you, Craig, is who do you think would be a good guest to have on the podcast?
Well, I'd love you to be able to get Rob. I don't know. I haven't seen Rob for a long time. Life gets in the way, gets busy. I don't know if he'd be up for it. But I was also thinking, went to high school with Ben Hutchinson. And I don't know if he's done many native garden landscapers and designers, and he does ponds as well. And
He's been a guest already. You haven't heard his episode
I
yet.
haven't heard him. Well, I have to go back for the podcast. Well,
It was early days. But yeah, but I loved it because I love what he does.
He's great at what he does. I've used him to consult for one of our jobs in Templestowe. She wanted natives. I'm not great at natives, so I got Ben in, and his knowledge is amazing and his vision. Yeah, so I actually went to high school with Ben, so yeah,
Cool.
great guy.
Yeah,
yeah, come across him out on the road every now and then, but yeah, so yeah, you've already taken Ben.
I'll forget Robert then.
Rob, I guess there's so many people out in the industry. You know, Nathan Burkett worked for Rob. They're massive now. If you get someone like that, I don't know. There's heaps of people out there. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on, Craig. Yeah, when I first spoke to you about, and you said you'd worked for Marty Semken and Robert Boyle, I was keen to have you on because a couple of big names to work for. So appreciate you coming on and sharing what you learned.
I'm absolutely honoured that you've had some amazing people on this podcast, and to be able to come on here and be asked to join it. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your time, and look forward to it.